Okay, we're going to go ahead and rig up a parachute with a stinger hook and a shad. Then we're going to rig up the teasers for the umbrella rig. Chris is going to go ahead and start now. And this is just, there's many ways to do it. This is just one of the ways that we do it. Going to go ahead and
put your shad on till it turns around the bend of the hook. The key to this is to make sure that you have your hooks so that it swims properly, so you have your hook that's centered. This is an 8/0 open eye, wide eye stinger hook. Put it in directly behind your jig head hook, not all the way into the middle of the shad, probably about the top third. Turn it. When it starts to turn, again, you come up as close to the center as possible, out. Turn your shad, it slips right over. That's the advantage of the wide rings in the hook, and you have everything lined up straight and it's ready to go. As far as your teasers, these are 2/0 safety snap swivels. These happen to be black in color. You can use brass if you'd like.
and we use the safety snaps because show them the point, Chris, as far as getting it down in. Makes it very easy to put into the shad, and since the fish aren't hitting these anyways, works well.
Okay, again, you want to go right down through the center till you turn in the snap swivel, and then again back up through as close to center as possible.
And show us that, Chris. It just comes through the center.
Yeah, it goes right through the center of the shad, right down through the center of the nose, and as close as you can get to the center. It's not as critical on the teasers since they are just teasers, but it is critical on your parachute jig. You do want that to swim straight. So there you have your 4 teasers and your rigged parachute. As far as putting those on your umbrella rig, there's several different kinds of umbrella frames that you can use. They come in a lot of different sizes, 20-inch, 12-inch. This happens to be a 15-inch forearm. The weight in this is approximately 2 ounces. These are pretty easy to install. You just open up all your frame guides. These frames are nice because they do have the loop on the end, which helps to hold the barrel swivel in the end. It keeps it on the end of the frame. A lot of the frames will be just wide open and the hook slides, and you have a chance of it coming out of your frame if it's just open. This helps to hold the swivel on the end of the frame, which is where you want it. So you open up all of your frame guides. Just put your swivel on. It goes to the end. It clips on. Do that on every frame guide.
I do this one slow, Chris, and turn it sideways so we can see it.
Okay. Goes on the end. Sits in the very end like that so it doesn't come back through and down towards where this hook is, because if it slides back down to this hook, a lot of times the frame's going up and down and the pressure and this hook might slide down. If it sits there, slide down and pop out. And that's why I like these frames. Keeps it on the end.
Okay, this particular umbrella rig just has four shad on it. So we have our 4 shad in the umbrella frame. We have a parachute with the stinger hook in it. And now we're going to show you, we go ahead and to put the trailer bait on. We take that parachute and we use 80-pound test.
Okay, what we're using here is 80-pound monofilament. These are 1.0 double barrel crimps. Has 2 openings. Your line goes in one side, And a good way to know if you have the right crimp, but it should tell you on the crimp package, is if your line slides up and down in the crimp is too big. It should, each part of the line should fit in each individual hole of the crimp. So this line won't go down. It stays in the top part of this crimp. This is an 80-pound barrel swivel to match the 80-pound line. You take and put your tag in back through the crimp. And I like to pull these down fairly tight. A lot of guys will leave a bigger loop. I like mine pretty tight. This little tag in here isn't going to bother anything after you crimp it. If you want to cut that off, that's fine. On your tool, there's guides on here with numbers that'll tell you what slot to put your crimp in. 0.1 to 0.5, 0.5 to 0.1. In this case, we have a 1.0 crimp. We're going to use the second set of guides. You put this in your tool, and what you want to do is, I always look at it sideways to make sure that your crimp is straight up and down and fitting in this opening properly. You don't want your crimp twisted, and you're crimping it straight up and down on the long ends. You want both sides, you look directly down the tool, you want both sides of your crimp exposed on each side.
Alright, let me try to get that on what we're talking about, because that's critical, okay? See the black crimp sticking out on that side and on the other side? Turn it a little bit, Chris. And on that side. What that does is, when you crimp, you don't necessarily crimp the monofilament. If you crimp off center, is you actually damage the monofilament that you're trying, and that weakens it. Okay, Chris.
And you're going to squeeze this as tight as the tool will let you. That's the reason that you use the correct opening, because the more pressure you put on here, these jaws are only going to close to a certain point, and then they're going to stop on their own. So you can squeeze that as hard as you want. As long as you have it in the proper opening, then you'll be fine. And that is how your crimp should look.
Hold a second.
If you'll notice, both ends are flared. The middle's crushed and both ends are flared up.
Okay. Now, how long do we like to chase bait?
Again, that's a personal preference, but we use 24 inches here. It can be anywhere from 18 inches up to 36 inches, but we rig most of the rigs here 24 inches. Okay, so almost done. Take your parachute. You're going to put your same 1.0 crimp on. A lot of the eyes on the parachute jigs are different. Some are on the front, some are on the top. This one happens to be on the top, which is fairly easy. Just slips through the eye, back through your crimp. This one you can leave a little looser. I like this loop a little big. It lets the bait have a little bit more action, I think. If you pull your crimp down too tight, it doesn't move as freely. So I like to leave a little bit of a opening on the line there.
Right. For those of you that are tying, that would be more of a loop knot. What we're trying to create is that space there, so it allows your bait to move around. We tend to, in the shop here, crimp because we do so much rigging, and with the 80-pound test, if you try to continually tie that in knots, it kind of gets tough. So we typically crimp. We do a lot of offshore rigging also, so we are set up for crimping here.
Okay, so you have your parachute jig now on your 24-inch leader. This is the easy part. This opens up. The umbrella rigs normally come with
Sure.
this fastener on here. Just goes on, clip,
I hold that out a minute. So there's the barrel swivel, there's the umbrella rig clip, there's the barrel swivel that we crimped on, down to the bait. Hold the bait up, Chris. Down to the bait with the stinger hooks in it.
This barrel swivel is critical. This allows your parachute to twist and turn, and it's not going to get a big twist in the line. If there were no swivel here, this line would just twist up, which would cause a problem.
Okay,
And
so
that's your completed parachute jig attached to your umbrella.
okay.